Yo, my people, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Saeed TV. We are live. Not so late vibes, but listen, it is bad vibes at the minute with the club. You know what I'm saying to you, with the fan base and what's going on in general. Even though we got 3 points, I don't know. I feel like there's a bit of tension in the air with the United fan base, but we've got four intelligent, I would say, gentlemen in the building. We got man like Adam in the building. Adam, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. All good. Happy. I'm glad we have a show right after the game, to be honest, because I
Yep.
didn't plan on losing my shit, but I lost it yesterday. I'm very like really,
Why?
it's too much in it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But big up to you. Big up to you, Statman Cam. Is your name now? You've got a new name now. I've seen it on YouTube. Is it now what's the new name now? Is it have you got a new name?
Yeah, my Twitter's now Coach Cam. So I thought
That's it.
I never
Upgrade.
really did the stat stuff that much. So I thought I'd do something I actually do instead. And why not?
There you go, man. Make sure you're following the people. Link is in the description. And then we got friend man Chazzo. You know what I mean? I see you doing the content outside Old Trafford. He had his gear ready. He was there, man. He's serious this year, man. Come on. Big up to Charlie.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. We're trying to, expand as much as we can. Unfortunately, there wasn't too much positive we could say after the game, but you've got to
Why?
still. I saw you doing yours as well, Saeed. You were all in action last night next to the
Yeah.
burger stand. But yeah, man, you just gotta keep it real, man. When we don't play
Yeah.
well, you just gotta keep it real. There's no point trying to gloss it up or anything. Just keep it real, man.
Absolutely. No, no, there was positives and I finished them in about 30 seconds. So, we have to be realistic about our expectations. But let's get straight into it, man. We had a bomber from David Ornstein about 50 minutes ago, I believe. The latest is that Harry Maguire will not be joining West Ham. Man United have needed to replace and short on time. Shock. Short on time. You've had the whole summer. Ten Hag sees 30-year-old as important squad member and happy for him to fight for his place. Defender did not agree terms with West Ham and settled at Manchester United. I'll start off with you, Cam. Um, is it a shock? Is it a surprise? How's your overall feeling now with this now? Maguire staying.
I think it's pretty clear Ten Hag doesn't want to play him. His bottom choice centre back now in the pecking order. I don't really know why he hasn't left. I think the only thing is apparently if the club owe him some money, then I guess he's entitled to take it. But you would think he would probably prioritise playing football. I mean, your career doesn't last forever, and he presumably wants to get in the squad for the Euros at the end of the summer. The way it's going, it looks like Levi Colwell's going to take his place, and I've got no complaints. I think he's probably better. Maguire's been always, to be fair, really good for England, but Levi Colwell's a great player. And if Maguire wants to sit and rot in the reserves all season at United, and if he's going to stop Ten Hag getting somebody better in, then I hope Ten Hag has the balls to say to him, I don't want you. You're going to play in the reserves all year or you're not going to play.
Mm. Yeah. No, absolutely spot on, man. It's spot on. The way I look at this with Maguire is that I think for me it's a disservice to England because I feel like for me you've got England Euros coming around the corner. You need to be in the right frame of mind. You've got a toxicity within the fan base that don't want you. I would say majority of the fan base don't want Maguire at the football club. They feel it's best that he moves on amicably. I don't think. Listen, from speaking from me, I think you know what amicably. I want him. I want him. I want him gone. But like I said to you, it's one of them situations where it's becoming toxic now to the point now where I don't know how I'm going to justify fans saying don't boo him because at the end of the day, it's got to that point now where how can I say, you know what? But fair play to Maguire, he's showing a bit of class here. He's, you know what, he's looking for a move. I can't say anything to the fans. If they want to boo him, they will boo him. So it's now got to the point now where why don't you make it easy for yourself? You've seen the fan base, the reception that they're giving you. You've seen it. Even when people say, oh, you know what? He only got booed abroad in Australia and in I listen, he got booed against Brighton. Was it against was it under Ragnick? He got booed against Brighton. So it has been at Old Trafford where he's been booed. I mean, Adam, where do you kind of see it, bro? And what's your feeling towards this man?
Bro, I cannot stand Harry Maguire, bro. So I'm fuming with this. I want him to leave. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's ever been good enough. I think he's absolutely shocking, to be honest. And I want him to go. I don't want him to catch abuse. I don't like the booing. I don't like when it gets personal and it's mean and just for free. But just for his career, it doesn't make sense. For us, it doesn't make sense. It's just a big wage standing there. It makes zero sense. And yes, of course, it's a contract and he's entitled to that money. And the same thing happened with Frankie de Jong. And when Barcelona didn't want to pay 17 million to Frankie de Jong, and they owed him, even though the situation is a bit different because it was not the remaining years of the contract, but money they owed him from previous years, so it's not exactly the same. Man, just move on, just leave, man, just leave, because it's going to be very hard for him. Like, let's suppose I rate him. For himself, it's going to be very difficult. Like, Lindelof came over him yesterday. Like, Luke Shaw plays over him. Everyone. And if we buy another midfielder, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the midfield players moves to full-back position, so that when we have the ball, we have three players in the middle. It just, and we needed the money. Like, we really needed the money. So I don't think there's one positive aspect, to be honest, to this news.
No, absolutely not. Big up to Zamias, says sell him to Spurs. They have all the money from Kane's sale and can pay what he wants. Look forward to for United coming to Emirates after yesterday. Listen, that was a bit tame for you there, Zayn, which I'll take that. You know what I mean? They have money, yeah, they do have money, but they still ain't going to buy Harry Maguire. I mean, this was our best opportunity, Charlie, to kind of get rid of him. We agreed a fee. My question is then, why did Man United waste our time then? They agreed a fee, you know, I mean, without consulting Harry Maguire in that aspect. I don't know, they should have had a meeting with Harry Maguire, say, we think it's best for you to move on in that aspect. Like, just have a word with him and say, right, we've agreed a fee, can you move on? Before you get to that situation where it gets a bit sticky and then you end up like this, where it's the deal's off, it's dead.
Yeah, but I really think we need another centre back. Like, I'm more bothered about not getting another centre back than not selling Maguire. Like if Maguire's fifth choice and he's just sitting around not playing much, I'm not really that bothered. But it's more the point that I want a replacement in, because Rafael Varane's going to get injured. Lindelof, I just don't trust over a whole season. I think he'll give you good games now and again. I thought towards the end of last season, Lindelof was brilliant. But I just don't think I can trust Victor Lindelof. Let's say Varane got injured for 8 weeks. Maybe towards December, we're playing key games, or towards the end of the season, we're playing, huge games against top 6 rivals. Can I trust Lindelof in all of those games to play consistently well? I'm not fully sure. So,
exactly.
Luke Shaw's done okay at left centre back, but obviously Luke Shaw only played at left centre back because Martinez was injured, and the Martinez injury that's like a very, very rare thing. It's probably not going to happen again. So you've got to look at the right centre back that needs strengthening. So the Luke Shaw gimmick isn't really going to come into play this season unless Martinez gets injured again. So we've only really got 3 centre backs other than Maguire that can play in that sort of that can really play. To be honest with you, because unless Martinez gets injured, Shaw's not going to play there. So, yeah, I really don't understand. Like what you said, Saeed. I feel like we just wasted our time. Why would I understand financially for Harry Maguire? It's best for him to stay, but surely you'd rather keep a little bit of pride, any pride that he has got left. Surely you'd try and keep a little bit of that and earn a bit less money and go and play football. Like, as I think Cam said, I think Cam said it, like, football careers are short. Like, Harry Maguire could go to West Ham and he could perform well for them. He wouldn't get any abuse, really. He'd probably be one of their better players. He'd play well for them. He can get out of the Manchester United, which is the best for him personally. But I think financially for him, he's probably just thinking, I'm just going to sit on the bench and earn, 200k or 180k or whatever.
Yeah, 190, I think God is. Yeah. So he's thinking about money then. And when you have a player that's motivated by money purely at Man United and isn't focusing on game time, then I think it's one of them. You know what I mean? Someone say there, why are we overreacting? I don't know have you been under a rock, mate? This is not overreacting. This is just talking about a player who we need to get out because he cannot have some value to him and bring a player in. That's what we want. Do we not want to be the best team in England and aspire to be better? I don't understand what do you mean we're overreacting? Maguire needs to go so we can bring in another centre-back. But now it looks like it, Cam, that we don't have time, apparently. No time, Cam. No time. It's over. This is it now.
Yeah, the sooner he goes, the better for everyone. But I just hope if he does stay, Ten Hag just drops him in the reserves and says, "Right, you're staying here till January," or at the very least, maybe threaten to do
Wow.
it and just do it because there's no point when he. The sad reality is, I think Maguire was very good for an initial period when he came to the club. And since then, his form dropped off a cliff and he's been shocking, hasn't been able to recover. People got on his back, getting loads of abuse. That sort of celebration and stuff at England level has not helped him. He really doesn't help himself, does he? I think there's, with the amount of abuse that professional footballers get a lot of times, if you want to play for a big club, you have to be pretty much bulletproof in terms of your mentality, your ego. Because if he wasn't, he would have folded by now. He would have, let's be honest, with the amount of abuse Maguire's had, if he wasn't pretty much bulletproof to the point where he doesn't care
Yeah,
what
of course,
anyone
of course.
thinks about him, he would probably be in a very dark place now if he, obviously I don't know what he is or isn't, but he'd be in a very dark place, which is probably the sad part of it. But I think that's probably gone a little bit too far in the situation where he doesn't really have any self-awareness. And even if he's not taking in what's going on with the fan base, which given the amount of abuse he's got is probably fair enough, he's surely got to have the self-awareness to realise he's not in Ten Hag's plans and is now fourth choice centre-back. And every time he seems to play, he can be good for 30 minutes, then he'll go and make a mistake that costs a goal.
Yeah.
And that'd be shocking for a little bit longer. So it's one of those where, fine, I can see why you maybe ignore everything the fans are saying, given the amount of abuse he's got, but have some self-awareness at least about what's going on within the club environment, within your team, within your manager. So, yeah, weird.
Absolutely. Yeah, and at this point here, the only point I kind of caveat to this is that he needs to have some ambition as a player that he wants to be playing beyond his 30s now. You know what I mean? This guy has got the Euros around the corner. You know, for me, he has this ego that he's better than what he is. And if you have that ego that you're better than what you are, then why don't you prove that at West Ham then? So I don't understand, for me, this idea that would I walk away from 7-8 million? These footballers earn money. And I'm not saying, like I said to you, don't stay on the wages you're on right now. But he looks and he approaches to me like a guy who, in the past, has put stats up of himself, saying, look at this, I've done this and I've done that. Like, he comes across as a guy who thinks he's at this level, when in reality, you're not. And sometimes, again, like Cam says, have some self-awareness. Your fifth choice, that is embarrassing. Like, what? You're a footballer. Just, like, swallow the pride and move on, go to West Ham, and then have a career in a Premier League that you never know where you can achieve. Like, I don't, like, this is where I kind of look at it. Come on. For me, I get it. Money is money. I get that. But then also, there's also football in the aspect of, you know what? You got England around the corner. You're jeopardizing your choice in the England team, possibly. But as this is where Southgate's got to come in and strip him. That's what I do. If I'm Southgate now, I'm stripping him off the team. I'm saying, listen, you're not choosing to play good football, and I have to strengthen this in the team that you guys have to play a good level for a while, not fifth choice. If it was second choice or even maybe third, but you are fifth choice, fifth. Are you mad? You know what I'm saying, Adam? Though it's true, though, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, bro. I'm not going to argue.
I'm not going crazy.
No, not one bit, mate. Not one bit. I'm not going to argue with this. Like, you know where I stand on Maguire. So, like, from the moment we signed him, I was pretty much doubting it. So it is what it is. He just, like Cam said, if like Charlie said, I think if he's going to be fifth choice, just hanging around. But the problem is we need someone else, and he's blocking that move. So this is my issue. Like, not only are you not helping, but quite the opposite, are making it more difficult for us. So I mean, he's literally playing against us at the moment, and he's been since 2019, to be honest. Like, you can make comps of Harry Maguire playing for the opposition. It happens all the time. So, nah, man, I'm just fed up. Like, and I said this every single time, but everything that happened between March 2019 and September 2019, bro, that is a very dark page of Manchester United history. From Ole's full-time contract to Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, and Dan James, everything that happened within those 4 or 5 months, God help us. And we are still paying the price now. We can't get rid of those players. And we need to not only to get rid of them, but we need to get rid of many other players. And we have many players that need to come in. Because if we are being honest, what I saw yesterday was shocking, but it wasn't a shock to me. We've seen it in preseason and we've seen it last season, and the signs were there. And it's terrible. All of it is terrible at the moment for me.
Yeah. Safari says here, a ridiculous shift blaming onto Maguire. Listen, the club they're in. I just said at the start, United was slow. They should have had an agreement with the player as well. They should have talked to him. They should have analysed the situation earlier on and found out where his position was. From when the season finished, I would have said to Maguire, "You are no longer part of my plans." Ten Hag would have explained that. I think Ten Hag as well. I'm not gonna lie to you, has tiptoed around it a little bit, even though for me he has said in it. What did he say in the statement about if you don't see yourself starting, you have to move on or something like that? He did say that, but I do think he should have been a bit stronger. This is me probably clutching at straws. Maybe said to him, "Listen, you're not part of my plans," and
Well, you
just say that, and then let's see what he says after that. But we don't know. He might have said that in that aspect. He might have. I don't know yet. We don't know.
But Jose Mourinho put Schweinsteiger in the reserves in the under 21s or something.
Well, I remember that, man. I was pissed off about that. Yeah,
He's
I mean, and
fuming.
this is, yeah, he did. But
Yeah.
again, I
It
mean, yeah. But you know what it is though, Charlie, that bit at the end there. Do you take it with a pinch of salt there? Ten Hag sees 30-year-old as an important squad member, or do you like? What do you think? Do you think that's just part of media talk and etc. Like we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, let's not forget that Maguire. I mean, I did read that post. I just saw the post from Ornstein, and it said, did it say he's set to stay or he will stay? Did he say
Sergio,
what was the exact word?
Maguire will not be joining West Ham. That's what he says here.
Oh, so it's still
Not
he still
joining.
could join somebody else then. So it's
Yeah, he could
like,
join somebody else, but
yeah, I think
anybody else?
Everton-
Anybody around?
I think this is the problem. I don't think Maguire is going to go to anybody that isn't playing below sort of 6th or 7th place. And you've got to ask yourself, I think the only option is probably Spurs. I think that's probably the only slight, and that's a very, very low possibility. A very low possibility.
Because they've just got Van de Ven, left-sided centre-back, so are they going to go for him in that aspect? Don't know.
I don't know. I'm clutching at straws really, but I think
Everton for me. It's got to be Everton with the way
if
they
he's
play.
not going to go to West Ham, he's not going to go to Everton. You could argue West Ham are in a better state.
Again. Know your level. You're not that. You're not that.
Everton are going to end up. Everton will probably finish lower than if West Ham get their signings in. Everton are probably at a lower level than West Ham are. So if he's not going to go to West Ham, he's definitely not going to go to Everton. But I just think like Ten Hag, when he says he's an important squad member, he said the same about De Gea. He's a complete goalkeeper. He said Ronaldo was a bit of an anomaly because he sort of did his own wrongdoing in what he did. But
wrongdoing, yeah.
And then who else was there? There was Maguire with the captaincy. He said blah blah blah, and then obviously he took the captaincy off Maguire already. So maybe he's just saying that to sort of say to the bidders, you're going to have to bid more, you're going to have to offer more. Because obviously if somebody comes in and offers more and then Man United have to pay him off, that means that, like, I think West Ham, did they agree 30 million for him?
Yeah.
30 million, yeah.
Yeah, and then how much do we need to pay? How much does he wants like a, what was it, 7 million?
15 million, was it? Was it?
15,
I heard 15 first. Was it 15? Was it 7 now? I don't know. It keeps changing every minute. So you guys need to keep me updated.
How much
is it? 10 or is it 15? I don't know. It's 7 million. 7 million, bro.
Yeah.
7 million, man. Take the bullet.
I'm saying it is like if someone comes in, it's very unlikely, but if someone comes in with a bigger offer than West Ham did, obviously then Man United might consider it, because then obviously the net value of what we get for him minus what we're going to have to pay him off is obviously going to be bigger, if you see what I'm saying. So we may then consider
legal fees as well. Plus the legal fees that's involved, cancelling contracts, etc.
Who's going to? I think Spurs is very. I think it's a very low chance, but I think that's probably our best chance, and it's a very, very low possibility. I think.
Yeah. Listen, he's still got around
7 million per year.
Said this 26.6, bloody hell. Oh, that's per year then? Damn. Okay, and he's still got 3 years left on his contract, or 2 years left on his contract. So yeah, man, it's an expensive mistake. Obviously, we took that L, but it's got to be one of them where now Cam, you know what I mean? You look at the centre backs yesterday, you know what I mean? I worry about progressing the ball in front of, like, for me, even Lindelof, like yesterday, I don't know if you've seen the slow tempo that he does. Like, I'm not saying Maguire's better, yeah, but Lindelof's not great in terms of progressing the ball, Cam. But you know, I mean, again, Varane can do it, but it feels like a bit awkward in a sense. And then
As the block, or is
Shaw's
it
played
me?
this inverted role, but then I didn't really see him. So normally he's quite good at that in terms of progressing the ball, sure. But he didn't do that for me.
Yeah, we lost you for a sec, Saeed, so I missed part of it. But
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I was saying we got Lindelof that doesn't progress the ball well. You got Maguire, who's a bit better, but again, not good enough. Then you've got Varane in a sense of it's a bit awkward. And then you had Shaw, who's playing this inverted role, but then didn't really do what he does normally in terms of carry the ball, because he's quite good at carrying the ball. But again, he didn't really do anything yesterday, to be honest with you. So we do need a centre back. But then against it's Tadibo, then we're linked with Pavard, who's again, he is a good ball carrier. I've seen him, you know, in that aspect. But again, what do you do then now? Is it no centre back now? Is that it now for you?
no,
What do you
I mean, I think irrespective of centre backs, yesterday wasn't really the centre back's fault. I think Lindelof generally is quite good on the ball. I think technically he's very good. I think where he probably lets himself down a little bit is he doesn't always play a forward pass when it's on. He won't always progress the ball when it's on, but he's got the ability to do it. He just doesn't always do it. He'd rather circulate sometimes and just retain it. But I think yesterday the problem was if you're in that back three that we build with, you look up and you see 5 Wolves midfielders there, and you see maybe Casemiro's available sometimes, most of the time not, and there's no one else really in that area. And then you look beyond that, there's 5 United players, but there's 5 Wolves players in front. So it was difficult to access that. And I think the problem was the way Wolves were playing yesterday, there weren't really any forward passing options into midfield most of the time. The options in the space were always out wide. It was a case of, if you're going to get it into midfield, it'll be into Casemiro or into whoever's inverted, but they'll only have 1 or 2 touches max. It's not really there weren't really the opportunities on to move the ball straight through midfield, 2 or 3 nice passes in the middle because of the way Wolves set up. So I don't think that's really the centre back's fault. I think, yeah, I mean, if you had a different centre back, maybe they carry it a little bit more. But having seen, when I've watched it back, I've not seen much where I've thought the centre backs are at fault here. Really, it was a case they weren't keen enough to switch the ball, but there weren't really that many options in front of them if they were trying to constantly play through the lines, which obviously when you're just learning to play a new way, every opponent's going to set up differently. You're going to train it to face a generic formation, like a generic 4-3-3. Every opponent's going to set up differently when you get into an actual game. And so because of that, there's different demands on the players. Things are a little bit different. So I don't think it was necessarily the centre-backs doing the wrong thing yesterday. They just needed to. I think if we had that exact same game with Wolves setting up the exact same way in 3 months' time, we'll smash them. But I think now, the way it worked out, we just aren't ready yet.
Yeah. I'm going to bring you a picture as well that I thought was madness in terms of our setup. And that will be our kind of next topic. Big up Matt Ross here from New York, back from New York. Eric Taylor must be furious. Squad ran into ground over 4 different time zones. We'll be playing catch up for the next 2 weeks at least. Boy, I see some things in preseason that a lot of people told me stop being negative, and I was like, well, I want to see the shape of our team better in preseason. Then when you come into it's almost like doing homework and you're practicing homework. When you get into the exam, you're ready. And I just didn't see that. But again, I'm going to put it down to first game of the season, so a bit of rustiness in that aspect. Dan Watson says, same every window, all the noise and no signings or sales. Glazeonomics, another manager stuck with players where nowhere good enough. Counter-attack FC. Guys, it's over 1. Big up 2 as well. As Sully said, bro, we got bullied. Very lucky. Onana is sick. Absolutely, man. Big up to Kyle, who says here, once a player signs a previous contract doesn't exist, Maguire has rejected West Ham's contract, then making it United's fault. Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I really do. I think both sides have played a part in this one. And ultimately, nobody wins. The fans lose out because we then don't have a player who is ready to be in our team because we need a centre-back. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get one now, which is a bit of a shame in that aspect. But there was a picture, I don't know where it's gone yet, but in terms of our kind of system and our style, I don't know if you guys seen that, where basically you had 3 defenders and then everyone else. Then you had Casemiro on his own in the middle. And then, yeah, it was like, I don't know if you guys seen that. Did you guys see that picture?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get it right now. I don't know if it's online anywhere. But yeah, Cam, what did you reckon of the midfield yesterday, man? And I'll bring up the picture to kind of clarify what happened in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, Casemiro was basically left on his own. The Wolves manager came out and said after the game he basically tried to pack the midfield, get as many players in there as he could. And for the way United are trying to play at the moment, that was a good decision. It was pretty smart. And I think in pre-season, the difference from pre-season to now is that in pre-season, every club tries to play the way they're going to play all season, get their basic principles in. As soon as you hit the first day of the season, most teams now are concentrating on results. The difference is if you're trying to build something for the long term, you've got to keep going. And we're still in that very early stage. So things are going wrong. You're getting different opponents, different challenges every week. And yeah, it was a long day. That picture doesn't make for great reading. I don't think it was. I think someone's obviously just made that up rather than that being a specific screenshot or anything. But
Exactly.
yeah,
That's my
is right.
There was another screenshot I can't find, but there was literally similar in that aspect. But I'll have to find it. But yeah, but I think it was. If you look at what was going on yesterday, though, it was similar in that sense that Casemiro was left on his own, and you had these guys in the middle here that you can see, Gomez and Lamina, but necessarily more so Gomez. This guy for me was one of the picks of the day for me in terms of Paul progressing. He was unbelievable, and then this Cunha here was excellent in terms of just making sure that he carried that ball in between. They almost had 1v1 situations where Martinez was left on his own, Adam. And then that wasn't great, was it? Like, and this is the thing, like, they're playing high up the pitch, these guys, Mount and Bruno. And I understand it, because if that's the philosophy and we win the ball high up the pitch, we then create overloads, we then create opportunities, and it presses, it creates anarchy. And that's what we want. But on the flip side of it, is it sustainable? Is it good for Casemiro, who hasn't got the legs? And let's be honest with you, man, he can't be left exposed there, can he? Really?
Yeah, but you know what? This issue, I mean, it bugs me, to be honest. I don't think the fan base is being honest one bit, or it's either dishonest or people just don't have a clue. And I would like to have your opinion, Charlie, Saeed, and come on this. But
yep,
Casemiro is exposed when we lose the ball. But the question is, why do we lose the ball in the first place? Because for 5 years, people have been telling me we need someone like Casemiro. At some point, it was Rice, it was Ndidi, it was someone like Partey to be at the basis of the midfield so that we have 2 eights that can go and create and attack. And it was supposed to be Pogba and Bruno, and it was supposed to copy David Silva and Kevin De Bruyne. And now we have exactly that. And Casemiro has been, it was not even on the radar at the time because people didn't think we could get Casemiro. But he's arguably one of the best holding midfielders we've seen of the last 20 years. He's a defensive midfielder. But if you want to play with a one holding, a lone six, that player must not be defensive. Yep. He cannot be defensive because his job is not to defend. The Bruno and Mount, and look, I have my issues with Bruno and I have my issues with Mount, even though I actually quite like Mason Mount. But the ball does not get to them because Casemiro, as much as he is world-class in many things, he's not world-class at what we are asking him to do. Every player has their weaknesses. Everyone has their weaknesses. And now we are playing straight into Casemiro's weaknesses. And before we signed him last summer, I said, what's the difference between Casemiro and Matic on the ball if you play them as a lone six? And I got a lot of smoke. But look at it. We need someone there that is more like Jorginho, more like Enzo Fernandez, more like Verratti, more like Busquets. And we don't need a destroyer because one man cannot defend an entire pitch. Because now people telling me for the last few years, to be honest, people were telling me we need someone like Casemiro to defend and shield the back four so that the others can go and do whatever they want. And now Casemiro doesn't have the legs he used to. We wish we had Casemiro 4 years younger. 4 years young. No, you need to fix up, people. Look, we need someone who can put a ball in the middle with accuracy, with speed, quickly, to Bruno, to Mount. And Casemiro is not that guy. He is not that guy. He is class at what he does, but he's not that profile. Yep. And I've been saying it for time. And look, I love Casemiro. I think he's a very good signing. But the way we are asking him to do, it's not going to cut it. And now people are highlighting the issue, but they're not asking the questions because those are uncomfortable questions. Who needs? Okay, look, if Casemiro is so good and so great and this and that, he cannot be dropped. Well, then someone needs to be dropped in Mount and Bruno.
Well, one of the two, yeah, one of the two. If you're going to create balance,
exactly.
You're spot on.
And if neither of them are the problem, well, then Ten Hag is. I don't believe Ten Hag is. I don't. I think he's a very good manager, and I trust what he wants to do. But now we need to ask the right questions. People say we need Amrabat to come in and help him. It's not if we get someone else to come in. It's not to help Casemiro because we want to play with 2-8. So it's someone to come in and replace Casemiro. And let's just be honest. Casemiro has his weaknesses. He needs to get removed from the team if we intend to do this. Not because he's a dead player. I really rate Casemiro, but we need someone else to do what he can't do. And if we want, and the same thing applies to everyone. It applies to Martinez, to Varane, to Wan-Bissaka, to Rashford, to Bruno. Whoever's not fit for the job needs to get removed from the team. End of topic.
There's a lot we need to remove then. There's a lot we need to remove then. Big up to Nate. He says at least he won't play, and I don't have to watch him try 1,000 times to ping that diagonal ball to the left wing and have 0 success rate. He is pants. I'm guessing you're talking about Maguire there. Guys, 1.1k in the building. That's a big numbers on the channel. Make sure you guys are liking the video, people, man. Let's get to 500 likes ASAP. And make sure you're following everyone's channels. Links in the description. You know what? I very much understand that point. The only issue that I maybe got with that is that I think Casemiro is elite at what he does. I don't think the rest of them are elite at what they do. So I'd rather put my basis around Casemiro rather than Bruno and Mount. That's my own honest opinion. So then we have to then sacrifice, and I agree with you, one of the two in that position, because like I said, it's not going to work and you need that balance. But the problem is he has brought in Mason Mount, Charlie, and I'll come to you, and he's brought in for a specific reason. Is that we want to be off the ball. Manchester United have to be the best. And he said it, transition, I want Manchester United to play in the best transition possible. So to do that, you need Mason Mount's off the ball movement. But the problem is, though, when they do have the ball, we just get circulated backwards and it's just game over. So what is it then? Is it system or is it personnel? Which one are you with in terms of that situation?
Well, Adam makes a great point. That you put that really, really well. I think the best solution we have right now is to sign. I think the best solution we have is to sign another type of midfield player. I mean, I've been talking about this for a long time. We've let Caicedo go. We've let Lavia go. We've let Frenkie de Jong wasn't really let go. It was a bit of a difficult situation from the start. There's Ben Arcer at AC Milan. There's Kakare at Lyon. There's a lot of different...
Give me Kakare.
There's lots of different names you can bring in, right? And we still need to be this midfield three of Casemiro, Mount, and Bruno. I still think in certain games, I think it will look better as we go on, but I don't think
it's not against Forest. Forest at home. I genuinely think for me we could dominate that game.
I thought last night against Wolves, I thought we'd actually be okay with it. Maybe I underestimated Wolves a little bit. But what they did with the 4-4-2 was really, really clever. And I think we need to give a lot of credit to Gary O'Neill as well, because he's been with Wolves for a few days. And that Wolves team looked like they've been playing under him for many, many months.
What does that say, though? What does that say, though? Be honest, because that for me speaks volume about where we are, because we've had a pre-season with these players. And I don't understand. It's either the players are not understanding what Ten Hag wants, and we have to be brutal. The likes of Anthony, the likes of these players that have been here for a while and just keep giving the ball away. Bruno Fernandes, how many times did he give the ball away yesterday? I can't even keep up. Like, I'll be honest with you. And listen, I did tweet, I said, why is Bruno Fernandes not coming off the pitch? Hold on a minute. There's going to be one passage of the play where he's going to contribute, and that's going to be the reason why he stays on. What did he do? The ball over the top to Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka plays it in, and it's a goal. The manager knows that he can be of use at one given time. But then the whole idea of what you want and your philosophy shouldn't be for that one moment. That's why I didn't want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as manager, because we were playing for that one moment. I want us to play a style of football that it might be like Wolves, but then you have a better likelihood of buying a striker that can score the goals at the end, and you have a better forward line. The build-up has to be better from United. I'm not going to sit here and watch us play and get outplayed by teams every single day. It's not going to happen.
What do you think then?
Can't do that for me.
I think against Spurs, it's going to be very interesting to see what he does. I'm really intrigued, because I thought when Eriksen came on, I actually watched the game over again today. He did misplace quite a few passes, but quite a few of them were sort of longer passes, looking to be a bit more creative, obviously, because we needed a goal. But I thought when Eriksen came on, the balance did look better. in that midfield, slightly better. I'm not saying Eriksen is fantastic, by the way. I just think he's a good squad player. But I think it's going to be interesting because Cam makes a great point. Like, is Ten Hag going to persist with this midfield three? And it's not just about the midfield three. They were not the only poor players. I thought all the attacking players were extremely poor.
Shocking.
Really, really poor. I thought out of the back four, Shaw had a lot of lapses. He made a couple. I think he made a great block, one great block, but Shaw had a lot of lapses. Wan-Bissaka had a couple of lapses, but I think he was one of our best players. Varane was pretty good as well. He obviously got the goal, but he defended very well in the box. But are we going to persist with Casemiro, Mount, and Bruno, and just because last season Ten Hag sacrificed performances for results a lot of the time. Ten Hag just went for results, and we played in all the competitions. We went all the way. We were all very, very happy that we won, obviously, a trophy. But obviously, Ten Hag had to sacrifice things. Is he going to do that again this season and sacrifice it for results again? Or is he going to take a little bit of pain and try and embed his way into things, playing with Mount and Bruno as 2/8 in the half spaces, maybe taking a couple of big batterings? Because I think we will take a couple of big batterings again. If we turn up like we did yesterday at the Emirates, we're going to get absolutely battered. We're going to get absolutely battered. So it's just what Ten Hag wants to do. What I want Ten Hag to do is I want him to implement his philosophy as much as he can in the so-called games against teams, the weaker sides where we're expected to dominate possession. But I don't mind us being more pragmatic in the bigger games. Like, for example, away to Spurs, I wouldn't mind if...
By all means.
If McTominay starts, I can't believe I'm saying that, but Eriksen or McTominay possibly comes in for that game. That's an option. Honestly, I just do not see in the big games going to the Emirates. If we go there with Casemiro, Mount, and Bruno at the moment, the way if we play like we did yesterday, still not really fully sort of engaged in this system and still not playing well with what Ten Hag wants to do, he may well sacrifice performances for results again in these big games. Because if we take another big batter in this season, another 5-6, 7-0, I'm going to be on Ten Hag's case 100% because it's just it's nowhere near good enough. It's nowhere near good enough.
Going back to what you said.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go for it, mate. Go for it.
Like you said, maybe we just have to be brutal. Because like I said, people I think are misunderstanding what I'm saying. I think Casemiro is one of the very few world-class players we have. I think him and Varane, end of. But it doesn't mean he doesn't have weaknesses, and it doesn't mean those weaknesses can't be exploited. And this is what we have. Like I think I don't rate Marcus Rashford. I think it's one of our worst forwards, to be honest. But if we are playing with a front two next to a target man, I think Rashford is my first name on the team sheet because I think you get the very best out of him in that setup. And I would sacrifice the other players that I rate more than him. But we need to ask the good questions and be honest. I don't think people are honest because yesterday I was saying Casemiro is left on his own, and then we have to change our setup so to suit how we lose the ball. How about we don't lose the ball in the first place? I think it's the way to see it. I think we are seeing it the wrong way. Oh, but when we lose the ball, we are exposed. Yeah, but exactly. This is why it's a high risk, high. This is why Pep is so great at what he does. This is why those coaches get the big bucks because they find a way. If you play with a 4-3-3, you have players all over the pitch. But the downside of that is that you are very lightweight all over the pitch. So you can cover every aspect of the pitch because in a 4-3-3, everyone is everywhere, but you're light. So if you play a 4-4-2 and your wingers are actual proper wingers, you have basically 4 midfielders and a back 4 and then a front 2. You are very compact. So it's a trade-off. It really is a trade-off. And we need to ask the questions and be honest because
absolutely. Well, this is what we're here for. I think this is a place to have open and honest discussions. Fuad Kodani's army has said Erik Ten Hag will persist like he did with Weghorst. Stubborn. I've got a bone to pick with you, Cam, if you don't mind. I'm not saying that I want David De Gea back, and this is not a petty case of David De Gea coming back, but there was a stat yesterday. Manchester United have conceded 23 home shots in the Premier League for the first time since 2005. And although David De Gea's reasons as to why them shots are coming in were probably because of his kicking and because of maybe the fact that pressure was coming back to us in that aspect, but does it not kind of bring you back to the feeling of why United are conceding so many shots? It's not just because it's only David De Gea, but it's also the midfield as well. and the fact that we don't keep the ball well as well. Like, I think we got so clouded into the fact that it was David De Gea, we can't play out from the back, David De Gea. And this is where I was like, hold on a minute, are the people in front of David De Gea keeping the ball well as well? Because then we're going to find out. And this is a season where it gets exposed and the flaws start to look at other people rather than David De Gea. So that start there, does it not again emphasize the need to unite just to keep the ball? And why are we not keeping the ball? Is that we've got players that are comfortable on the ball? Like, explain what you're saying.
I want to say I think Adam made some great points there, and a lot of those points that Adam was making, I think actually are very much linked. Obviously, as you said, in terms of us, you're 100% spot on in terms of Casemiro's strength is his defending, and if you want to keep the ball better, you'd be better off with somebody who's a little bit better on the ball, like a Jorginho type, or even like a Tonali from Newcastle, much better on the ball than Casemiro. But what I will say is, in terms of keeping the ball, as Saeed said there, we've got Onana in now. We're playing a completely different style to last season, and that takes time. I think it's one thing if you're trying to coach it in players, even at under 21 level versus the first team. There is so much more time for everything to happen because the ball moves slower, players move slower. So if you think about an individual player decision on the ball, if you're at under 21 level and you've got maybe 3 seconds before a player gets to you, got a bit, and the ball travels a little bit slower when you pass it, you've got a little bit more time to think, and the thinking time doesn't really make a difference. When you get to first team level, I don't know if anyone's seen the videos that we got over the summer from like player cameras, the players wearing cameras on the preseason tour from, I think it was Villa or Newcastle, Leicester, or some of those players were wearing cameras. There is no time to the point where if it takes even the slightest bit longer for you to think about what you should be doing, where you should be going, someone's on you straight away, you've lost the ball. So I think because players are being asked to play in new positions in different ways, they're not 100% sure what's going on, and at this moment in time, they're still adjusting. And that means that when you then throw in the complexity of different teams playing in different ways against us, that makes it that little bit harder for everyone to adapt then. And things take that little bit longer, which means that then all of a sudden you're worried about losing the ball. So one of the things that frustrated me most yesterday was Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes really high in the half spaces. When they were receiving the ball, pretty much every time they were receiving the ball back to goal because they were so worried about losing it against the defender who was right up on them. They weren't dropping in at the right times. They weren't timing their runs properly, weren't receiving the ball side on so that they can play forward. And it's that subtle difference there of them being back to goal versus being on the half turn. That made the difference between them keeping the ball and playing it forward for us to create a chance in transition, and Wolves then being able to turn the ball over and running through the midfield because Bruno and Mount were so high up the pitch. So it's small differences there. And having watched the first half back, honestly, I think tactically you can see exactly what Ten Hag's trying to implement, but technically in terms of the way it's happened, miles off it. And I say that in quite a few areas. Garnacho, particularly when the ball got out to him, he was far too slow to do anything, wasn't very good 1v1. And I think in lots of other areas, the passing was too slow, players weren't fitting the balls in, the body shape wasn't right to receive, and then you lose the ball, as Adam said, and then you have the problem where, obviously, if you can't keep it, you get run through. And what we had second half was a complete breakdown of pretty much everything Ten Hag was trying to do. The system and structure basically fell apart. It was a lot more freestyle. And what was happening was, the way Ten Hag wants to play, there's a lot of freedom in the sense that different players can be in different places at all times, which means that obviously it's going to take longer for the players to learn because you've got to learn 3 or 4 different positions at the same time rather than just the role you've got to do. But it also means players have got to recognise situations, they've got to adapt to it, and they've got to be responsible. You can't all just go be on the last line all the time. There were situations where, in terms of them playing through us quickly, leaving Casemiro on his own, the reason that was happening was because everyone was trying to be on the last line. Now, at times, Wan-Bissaka should be on the last line, Antony should be on the last line, Mount should be a bit deeper. At other times, Casemiro should be deeper. The point is, either side in those wide triangles, you have one player in the half space, you have one player holding the width, and there's always one player for balance, or at least that's how it should work. I know a lot of people are saying a 3-1-6. That should be very specific moments. It should be a 3-2-5 base with 2 people there as the safety options in case we lose the ball. The problem yesterday, in the first half, actually, I thought our structure was all right. We just lost a few duels and things didn't go too well. There were a few bits of sloppiness. Second half, people were being selfish. They were getting themselves on the last line. And that meant that as soon as we lost the ball, Wolves, with their great ball-carrying power, if there's one thing that Wolves team had, there were a lot of players who can carry the ball, run up the pitch.
Carry the ball, exactly.
And because our players weren't in the right spaces, before we lost the ball, we were getting run through. if there's one thing the best teams in the world can do, as Adam mentioned, in terms of Pep Guardiola getting paid the big bucks, all those great managers, if there's one thing they all do, is they set the conditions for when they lose the ball whilst they've still got it. And at this moment in time, because we're still trying to work out what we do whilst we've got the ball, we haven't even got to the point of thinking about what happens when we lose it. So we haven't even got the chance to set that up. So it's that little bit of getting over that hill, of adapting to what we need to be doing with the ball. And then you can start putting the conditions in place. And it's honestly, based on that first half, if you go and watch it back, it's so frustrating because there's so many times where there's small margins between us creating a chance and them having a great chance on the break. It's really, really small margins between this player slightly
small margins, but also big consequences as well, because a better team destroy you. And if we're in the Champions League and if we want to be top 3, we're going to face these kind of situations. So as much as I get it, it's small margins and we could have done it. I think a better team scored 2 or 3 in that first half. Wolves had a few opportunities where they just couldn't conjure anything. But
so,
Man United,
of course.
Yeah, go on, sorry.
Of course, but if you want to elevate this Man United team, I think the difference in the Premier League versus, the difference that we've got in the Premier League in the last few seasons is that the top teams are so good, they very rarely drop points. So to do that, you need to get your performances to a consistent level where over the course of the season, you're creating so much more XG in your opposition, you're conceding so many fewer chances. Your performances have to be sustainable if you want to win the league. And what we did last season, as much as we got results, a lot of the time, our performances weren't sustainable on the level they needed to be. What Ten Hag's got to do is change that. Now, it may take a lot of pain, and I think if he doesn't get results, he's going to be under pressure. But where we are is, not last season, but the season before, where Arsenal had that terrible run at the start, and people were saying, Arteta out, all that sort of stuff. We're in that period now where we've got to adapt. We're lucky we haven't got all the big games at the start of the season because they did have a really bad run of fixtures as well. But we are going to have a lot of pain coming up over the next couple of months. But once we've got over that hill, that's the bit that we need to get. That's the hill we need to get over to actually get into the mix to challenge for titles. If we don't get over that hill, we'll be in the exact same position we've been under with every single manager we've had in the past 3, 4, 5 seasons, because we just don't get over that bit. We can finish third, we can finish second and be 20 points off. If you want to get closer to City, who are setting the standard at this moment in time, you've got to adapt your performances. And that means you've got to give it time to get the principles in place, let the players adapt, and then they'll be able to deal with challenges better from opponents playing in different ways and different situations happening in games.
No, beautifully put, man. Beautifully put, breakdown there. Zoateng says here, Casemiro isn't the problem, Adam. Ten Hag is. He still haven't managed to replicate the Ajax style. Ten Hag spent 400 million and still hasn't improved our football. And he goes on to follow and say, since Casemiro's arrived, he's been very good. It's Bruno that's been awful. He wastes so much possession. And now Ten Hag found another Bruno in Mason Mount. And with Tomine and Maguire staying, is that our window done? I hope not, Paul. Don't make us sad, mate. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm hoping that Amrabat comes through the door. I'm hoping that I think United if United are not going to get centre back, then we need 2 midfielders. I don't know about you guys, but I want Amrabat or Onana. I'm not really too for Onana, but I can see why he would be a good asset in terms of our ball carrying abilities. He's a very, very good ball carrier in that aspect. He's physical. We lack physicality in that midfield as well. So I would, for me, get 2 midfielders for me, Charlie. I don't know what you're saying. Like 2 midfielders is on effort. And that don't mean that Eriksen don't have a squad, but I just feel like if the next people are coming on, they have to be at the level where we can improve on the first team and be of a good use.
Yeah, we desperately. Casemiro is going to get suspended for so many games this season.
I think Lisandro is, a lot. I've got a weird feeling about Lisandro, because for me, yes, he's a very good defender, but he also lashes into a lot of tackles that he doesn't need to. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I think defending transitions, particularly if we keep on with this midfield, I think we're going to see a lot of tactical fouls. And I just hope that, when I watch Rodri for Man City, he gets away with so many of those tactics. Man City have been the masters of it in the last few years. It's crazy. You see Rodri, he makes about 4 or 5 of them a game and gets booked once. And Casemiro, maybe because of the way Casemiro is, his body language, things like Rodri looks a lot smoother, whereas Casemiro is he looks a lot more disruptive. So maybe referees look at that and there's a little bit of bias towards Casemiro. But I think Casemiro will get suspended, and obviously I hope I'm wrong. I think he will get a couple of red cards and lots of yellow cards. So We need a backup for Casemiro. That's being a player who can play in the single six. Amrabat can do that to a decent level. And then I agree with you, Said. I think we need another number 8. I think ideally we sell McTominay and we go and buy another number 8. Onana from Everton he's a great talent, but he's probably going to cost you, particularly because we started the season now, he's probably going to cost you 55, 60 million realistically. So
Easy.
Is he really worth that? No. I'm not so sure. No. But you know what, Saeed? You know what? Like, I agree with Cam. I think we are going to have to accept some pain. I would rather Ten Hag sort of die by trying to instill his principles and try and play the way he wants, to be honest with you. I know last season, like Cam said, and like I said before, we sacrificed performances for results a lot of the time. But I want to see Ten Hag sort of, if Ten Hag gets sacked whenever he gets sacked and he tried to implement what he tried to implement, then we could say, well, the club actually backed him. He signed Martinez, he signed Anthony, etc., and he tried to do what he wanted to do. I'd rather him do that. And I know it sounds bad, but I think Pat Gon sort of, in the past, we've seen a lot of managers not being backed. Remember that Jose Mourinho window with Fred, Dallo and Lee Grant? Like that was the Jose Mourinho window that sort of killed him off. But I'll be honest, I agree with you. I think 2 midfielders, and I still think we need another striker. I really do. I really think we need another striker.
We can't ask for everything, Charlie. Chill, mate. You got to relax. This is too much,
but we should be able to, man. We're Man United. We should be able to, man. I know we can't.
I can't see Rashford up front, man. That was. I don't know why people are not talking about that Rashford performance. That was terrible, man.
Bro, I'm talking about
terrible.
Rashford at 9 is. I don't think that works as well when we're up against low blocks. I think Rashford at 9 in games like, I think he played at 9 at Arsenal at home last season. In games where we're expected to have less of the ball, Rashford at 9 is very good to make those runs in behind where there's more space. But I just think when we're playing against low blocks, you're going to need a striker who's a bit more secure in possession. You're going to need more of a box presence. So that's where Rasmus Højlund comes in. I know he's still very raw, but that's where Højlund is better. And that's where Martial is better than Rashford, right? Martial's still a better option than Rashford.
On the pitch. Was he on the bench?
Yeah, he was on the bench.
Yeah, he played in the friendly today. You know, the friendly behind closed doors against Everton. Martial played in that. Yeah, so that's probably why Ten Hag didn't bring him on, because he wanted to give him a game today. But
with Rashford at 9, the only positive of Rashford at 9 is him not being on the left, and vice versa. That's how bad it is. Because if we're being honest, because
he's better on the left, though. He's better on the left. That's all. He's better, more drifted in central.
Let's be honest.
On the left.
Do you honestly think he's better on the left?
Genuinely, for me, Adam, he's better on the left. His striker is non-existent. Last season, we've seen him drifting into centrally, but coming off the left, and he scored 30 goals. Do I still believe his overall performances for me are right? I'll be honest with you, no. But I can give it him for the execution and the fact that he had the output. That's the only. I'm not like, apart from Rashford, I don't see where the goals are coming from. I'll be honest with you. So
what I think that bugs me is people don't like Rashford at 9 because they don't like his overall play. But he's at number 9, so they prefer him on the left because he scores goals on the left, but he doesn't have overall play. It's basically the same thing wherever he is. He doesn't have overall play, but he scores on the left. So he doesn't score at 9. That means he doesn't score from the left. And if you take a look, and I've been through a bit of the season, last season for Rashford's goals. He scored 4 goals in the league before the World Cup. And he scored 3 goals from the League Cup final until the end of the season in the league. So 7 goals outside of the World Cup to the League Cup finals. And what happened in that moment is we signed Weghorst. And people can go on Weghorst as hard as they can. And I don't think he's good enough. But having Weghorst in the team is what it means. It means that he plays with a next to a target man. Weghorst was dropping deep. Rashford had the space, but he was not playing at 9. He was not playing on the left, I mean. Rashford pair him with someone, and you have a very good player. The same way, like I said last time, you pair Michael Owen with Heskey, and then you have a good goal-scoring player, a good goal-scorer. But if we're being honest, Rashford on the left is not it, because he's not dribbling, and he's selfish. He can't dribble. He's selfish. So you want him on the left to score goals, but you don't want him at number 9 to score goals. Something is off.
Yeah.
Listen,
I hear you. I hear you. Right now, I'm not gonna lie to you. Is Rashford on the highest of my problems? Probably not. And I don't think you are saying that, Adam. But I think you're frustrated by the fact that by his goals, probably he still isn't the player to take Man United forward in that aspect. But
Do you know
listen, I
what's
think
funny?
for me, yeah,
Sorry,
go on.
sorry. No, I think it's the out of possession stuff as well. Like I was talking to Cam about this after the game. Like there's a lot of examples from last season where if you put Rashford up top, it sort of reduces the risks of him not giving us enough out of possession on the left, because when Rashford's on the left, like his pressing is not good enough. His understanding of sort of defensive positioning is not good enough. That's one thing I can rate about Anthony. Anthony understands sort of pressing triggers. He understands how to curve his runs, right? And people say you buy players to score goals. Well, of course you do, but you need both. Why were Liverpool so good under Jurgen Klopp? How hard did Mane work? How efficient was Mane, Salah, Firmino? How good were they out of possession? How tenacious is Bernardo Silva? Bernardo Silva is a wonderful footballer, but how often does he get stuck in? How good is his pressing? We sometimes forget this element. A lot of our attacking players, they're not offering us enough on the ball, but they're also not offering us enough off the ball as well. So this is a big issue. This is a big issue. And this ties into the midfield argument. Like Adam said, okay, we're losing. I think a stat came out today. I don't know whether it was in the Telegraph or something, where Man United lost the ball the most times in the final third amongst all the teams this weekend or something. A stat came out. Yep. Something about losing the ball the most in the
81, I think it was. 81 times.
Wow. Well, the issue then is, okay, if you've got these players, because let's not forget, Liverpool under Klopp, they took risks as well in the final third. That's absolutely fine. But what did they do? Their counter press was amazing. How hard did their front three work? How efficient was their pressing? And we have a front three. They're not being productive in terms of goals, apart from, Rashford. I know what Adam's saying. He still scored some goals last season. We can say he scored some goals. But a lot of our players are not scoring goals, and they're also not contributing enough to our press. So we're losing the ball very often, and then players are running past our attacking players. Then our midfield is outnumbered. They're running past our midfield players, and then Martinez has to go in. Casemiro has to go in. So both parts of the game, both parts of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here, people. It's been a good hour talking about Manchester United. But listen, we'll carry this on Man Them Talk tomorrow, 5 p.m. Tune in. We'll talk about it again. Adam, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on, bro, and giving your opinions. The Rashford army will be on to you, but big up to you, man.
Well, they've been for years.
Yeah, man. Big up. Make sure you follow him. Coach Cam, been a pleasure, bro. Always good to see you on the streams and tuning in, man. Very, very knowledgeable guy, man. Big up, bro.
Cheers, mate. Good to be on.
There you go, people. Make sure you follow him. Links in the description. And Charlie, big up to you as well, mate.
Big up, man. Nice to see you yesterday, man. Big up.
Big up, bro. Big up as always, people. Like I said, people, please do like the video on your way out, man. It'd be a good pleasure if you guys could do that. And like I said, tomorrow, catch me on the Man Them Talk. We'll be talking all things Man United. And hopefully, we'll link with another midfielder or something. We need players. Players, come on.